Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Walker Memorial Trophy for the final race of the season from Laguna Seca. Before we have a look at the grid order, let's take a look at the current championship standings. SGP has been confirmed as the Walker Memorial Trophy champion. There's still a battle for second place between Steve F1, Mitch and Demon R, a battle for fifth place between Dave the Heart, Fluffy and Twilight, and a battle for eighth basically between Jimmy and himself. Then we've got a fantastic battle for ninth between SRI, Conrad, Bunsel, Rich Blues, Tyler, and then we've got Jason 14th, Gary 15th, Hay 16th and Groover 17th. Okay, let's take a look at the way they're going to line up today. SGP, being confirmed as the champion, is going to be taking part in the Champions Challenge, so he's going to start at the back and he's not going to move until the leaders get to the final corner. The leader today being Steve F1 on pole position, Mitch joining him on the front row. Demon R starts in third alongside Dave the Harp, and then we've got Fluffy Planet on row 3 with Twilight. On row 4 we've got Jimmy starting in 7th place, and he's got SRI next to him in 8th. Conrad will start 9th, Rich will start in 10th place, and then we've got Tyler in 11th, Jason in 12th, and then we have Gary in 13th and SGP in 14th. So good luck everybody, it's the last race of the season and our thoughts go out to Hay, hope you get better soon. Okay, let's go and join the commentary team for as much as the action that we can see. And joining me on commentary for the final race of the season is Steve. How are you, Steve?
I'm not too bad, how are you?
It's a different Steve. I'm absolutely rocking. So the drivers are ready then here at Laguna Seca. Steve F1 on pole position, Mitch alongside him as we wait for the lights to go out, and in a puff of dust away they go. And actually, oh yeah, there is a puff of dust eventually. Steve F1 covering Mitch off straight away, no hesitation there, but Mitch still trying to fight it.
Yeah, Steve F1 looking down into turn 1, hoping to get a clean run into that corner. Demon R going around the outside of Mitch. Can Mitch hold him off? He's going to try it all the way around the outside, but I don't think he's going to have enough space.
Yeah, Demon R's going to have to watch out as well for David Harp, who is right behind him. But Demon R's got to run up the inside of Mitch into turn 2. That's a lovely little overtake there as Steve F1 opens up a bit of a gap. David Harp trying to make moves as well. And behind them we've got Fluffy and Twilight side by side they were. But yeah, Mitch trying to fight back on Demon R.
Yeah, this opening lap of the race, cars are all tightly packed together. Anything can happen, and a little bit of nudging going into the corner, but that's exactly what can happen on this opening lap. And there's those two battling. Dave the Arp's trying to get in a bit closer, and so is Fluffy.
Yeah, they're still side by side. Oh, Mitch gets a little bit sideways. He may run a little bit wide here. Yes, he does, but manages to hold on to the position. And as you mentioned, Dave the Arp closing in, heading up to the corkscrew. Don't really want to be side by side here. So can everybody get it slowed down? Oh no, I think there's a bit of a nudge from behind, and it's a Constantino nudging forwards, and it sent Mitch through the gravel, and he's going to lose the position now to Demon R. I don't know if Demon R should really be giving that position back, because I don't know if it was his fault really.
No, it wasn't really his fault, but it's just one of those unfortunate situations by the looks of things there. Just everyone on the brakes at the last minute into the corkscrew for the first time, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that happen again during the race.
Yeah, or Mitch running a little bit wide. You don't want to get too far out there because it's so easy to spin around, as David Hart was having a look at Mitch into the final corner, but now he's got a brilliant run on him heading up towards turn 1. Turn 1's kind of a kink and then a downhill and then a long hairpin, double apex hairpin, which I call it all turn 1, as Dave the Arp got very hot on the brakes there. Oh, yeah, SGP, what's he doing?
Yeah, that's into turn 2, but it's into turn 2 for the first time for him, isn't it? We're doing the Champions Challenge.
Yep, that it is. So he is just ahead of Steve F1, but he is basically a lap down. So Demon R now in second place has an opportunity to try and pull away from Dave the Harp. I really can't speak today.
Dave the Harp.
Yep, that's the one. Twilight's in a decent position at the moment, sitting in 5th behind Mitch, who's in 4th, and Fluffy sitting there in 6th. And we all know what Fluffy used to say. Let's go, they said. That's not it. But I'm not going to say it.
Carry on.
I can't believe we just did that. Okay, Laguna Seca, first time DGT League's racing around Laguna Seca. An easy track to race around, isn't it?
Yeah, as long as you stay on the black stuff.
Ooh, Tyler getting close to the back of Jason there. Oh, and in the background, Gary looks like he may have been a little bit wide as Connor trying to make his way through from near the back of the grid. Once again, SRI and Gary battling away. But yeah, I mean, it's not an easy racetrack at the end It is. If you like you say, you keep it on the tarmac, you'll be okay. If you get off the tarmac, oh yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's going to make it very interesting if you're not on the black stuff. It's a bit like Big Willow in that way, that you can end up quite a long way off track and taking quite a long time to get back on to the black stuff. With it being not really grass, it's sand, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and Mitch is taking him a lap or two regain his momentum as he makes the move on David Harp through turn 1. I think David Harp was a little late on the brakes there and ended up going a bit deep. Mitch may be able to do a bit of a switch back now unless Dave covers it off. No, he can't, as they're going to go side by side into turn 3. And yeah, I think Dave's going to have to concede that one. So yeah, Mitch has managed to clean up his tyres after taking a trip over the gravel at the corkscrew. So he's going to have to see if he can now put some pressure back on these two. But Demon R has really closed in on Steve F1.
Yeah, I mean, for Steve F1, his focus has got to be beat Mitch. As for Demon R, he's got to beat both of them and hope that they come out with penalties for him to capitalise on this race. But I suppose for Demon R, it's his last opportunity this season to get a victory.
It is, and interestingly, I think Steve F1 may have backed out of that one a little bit. Demon R, yeah, kind of got nothing to lose. Steve F1, as you said, is leading Mitch and Demon R at the moment, so doesn't really need to get involved in anything. As Connor has made his way past Jason, or Jason's still trying to fight for that position, can't quite do it though as they head towards the penultimate corner. Penultimate corner's a tricky one here. It tempts you to go way too fast through it, but the problem is if you actually get the corner right, you've then got that difficult final corner. As we see SRI going up the inside of Conrad. Jason tags the side of Conrad, but he didn't really have much choice because Rich was up in the inside of him. As Steve F1 now all over the back of Demon R heading down into turn 1. Demon R is going slightly defensive there.
Yeah, Steve F1 not going too attackive though. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Steve F1 here just trying to keep it clean and tidy and pointing in the right direction. Not like Rich though. Whoa, helped out by Conrad there though.
Yeah, that definitely isn't clean and tidy. But yeah, Jason making his way through. Gary all over the back of him. Connor closing in on the back of Gary as well. As always, hashtag pack life, a little bit mental in the DGT League.
Talking about the pack life, the cars to keep an eye out for in that pack is David Hart, Fluffy and Twilight, all within about 8 points of each other in the championship. And then we've got Jimmy, SRI, Conrad, Bunsall, Rich Blues and Tyler and Gary. Yeah, I mean, just so many cars all together in the title standings that could jump from anywhere down to like where Gary's in 15th. He could quite easily jump up to 8th if he gets a good result here.
Conrad's just disappeared. It looked like he went to turn into the corner, but Jason was there, and then Conrad has disappeared. I don't know if he's ended up being off the track there. But yeah, he's definitely not in the pack at the moment. But yeah, you're absolutely right. In the championship standings, there's so much to fight for. That 5th place, that 9th place, that 2nd place. The championship has been decided unless SGP somehow in this race ends up getting more than 10 points of penalties and Steve F1 wins the race. Fluffy not going defensive on Tyler. SRI trying to attack Gary though. And Rich big sideways around Laguna Seca's final corner. You have to be so careful of doing that because that overheating of tyres will follow you all the way down to turn 1. So when these guys hit the brakes and Rich does, he may get a little bit twitchy on the rear end. There you go, he is!
Well, yes, he's all over the place as he's going down into that braking zone. But quick question though, for you though, Dave. As a driver that you've experienced being doing a championship challenge, what is SGP's thought process going to be during this race? Surely just keep it clean.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, doing the Champions Challenge, it used to be, or SRI's all over the back of Gary, it used to be start at the back of the grid. But unfortunately, in the DGT League, that's still not enough of a well done, here's a punishment for you. But it's kind of like, look, we want you out of the way. You've done so well that, like, bugger off and give everybody else a go for a once, will you? So, doing it from a lap down, it is very difficult, but from a championship perspective, you kind of still go, I think I can still win the race. Now, you've got to keep it clean. You've got to be able to catch up as Steve F1 takes a bit of a corner, takes a bit of a tighter line through a corner as Mitch's all over the back of him. But yeah, I mean, SGP may not be thinking win the race. He will be thinking, okay, just please, if I catch up, great, and then hopefully have no problem around anybody else. It will be a case of do not get involved in anything as Mitch is having a look up the inside of Steve F1 into the final corner, and he makes the move. He was a bit twitchy on the brakes, but it was a lovely overtake. Steve F1 might not mind that too much. excuse me, because him being right behind Mitch is not a problem at this moment in time. It's what happens right at the end. So again, for SGP, if he can catch up, it's then where he's got to think, do not get involved in anything, because the championship's wrapped up unless he does get penalties. So as long as he doesn't get involved in anything, he'll be absolutely fine.
But surely though, if he's in any doubt during the race, you just give a position back, don't you?
Oh yeah.
You just don't take that risk. If he's got basically both hands on the the championship at this point, you just don't take the risk.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean he's not going to go for an overtake if it's there and available.
That is true. SRI still all over the back of Gary. Conrad has reappeared as SRI's got a decent run on Gary here. Gary's trying to go defensive, but SRI is already there as we have a good look at the mother's sign. Oh, Gary tried to turn in, but SRI was there. That's going to allow Conrad to have a look up the inside of SRI. It's a lovely bit of driving, but here comes Fluffy.
Yeah, 4 wide is that it was. We're now looking at Tyler, who's catching up Twilight. I'm just trying to think. Tyler's quite a long way down the championship, unfortunately, this season. He's missed a few races, but he's been showing some good, strong pace when he's been able to put the practice in.
That he is,
and he might be kicking himself a little bit because he could have done so much more this season.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, to be fair, there's the likes of Tyler that could have done so much better. Just to let you know as well in the background, Connor did stay ahead of SRI and Fluffy. Yeah, Tyler could have perhaps done so much better, but also Mitch. I mean, Mitch has shown great pace in this championship, and in the last couple of races when he's had a bit more time to practice. Unfortunately, if he'd have been able to practice more for the previous 6, 7 or 5, 6 races, I think he would have been a championship contender. Because look, he's made a mistake in this race early on. He's now harassing the leader for the lead of the race. This is showing that he's got the pace inherently, but it's when those little mistakes come, and those little mistakes come from perhaps not getting into the full rhythm of what the track will do to you. For example, if you go half an inch too wide at a corner, but he definitely is applying the pressure on Demon R.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between probably somebody like Mitch and, say, for instance, SGP this season, SGP's going to put enough practice in to know what his tyres are going to be like in that last 10 minutes of a race, whereas I wouldn't be surprised if Mitch hasn't done one 40-minute practice most races this season. Not that SGP is going to be wanting to get more practice in, of course.
No, that is true. So looking at the pack again, we've got Fluffy and Gary kind of going side by side. It's an interesting corner there trying to go side by side through, because it is probably, I was going to say, one of the most trickiest corners around this track, but actually every corner is tricky around this track. But that's another one. It's that and the penultimate corner. The temptation, always like Mitch, is to try and go so fast through that corner that you end up making mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few corners there that can do that to you. I mean, the corner just before the corkscrew, the one at the, kind of the bottom of the hill from the corkscrew.
That's the one I'm on about, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to try and give it a name, I'd probably call it the devil's elbow, because you're trying to side by side with someone through there and they stick their elbows out and you're off the track.
Yeah. Demon R trying to cover off the racing line there, close the door on the apex. Mitch giving him a little bit of a nudge as they made their way through turn 2. So yeah, Demon R's definitely going a little bit defensive here, which is going to cost a little bit of time, but he won't mind that too much if it'll allow the likes of Steve F1 to close in once again. But Mitch has got the run as they make their way towards turn 4, and yeah, he's ahead, late on the brakes. That might hurt the tyres a little bit, but it's an interesting situation this. I mean, Demon R's not been in a position to really win a race this championship. He's now in a position to do so, but it's one of those things, I think, with this car that sometimes you might not mind following someone for a few laps just to take the pressure off your tyres a little bit.
Yeah, keep them cleaner than the car in front and you'll soon catch them up, that's for sure. And we've seen Mitch quite a few times putting pressure on his tyres in previous races. He is a driver that likes to brake late, put a bit of yaw on the car as he turns into a corner, and
he's dipped a wheel wide. Now he's going to struggle through the penultimate corner, and he's going to have to be careful here, because depending on how dirty his tyre, I think he's just backed out of that. Yeah, I think he realised he's not going to be able to get that slowed down. He doesn't want to fight it into that final corner.
It's sideways. Yeah, and it's just going to be a knock-on effect, and I wouldn't be surprised if into the braking zone of turn 1, Steve's going to be getting alongside him, because Mitch is going to have to be careful on them brakes, otherwise he'll be sideways again, and it'll be the same throughout the lap if he's not careful.
Yeah, that is true.
It's a bit twitchy.
Yeah, so mid-corner, the grip isn't quite there at the moment. Steve able to apply the pressure a little bit more, and this is going to give Demon Art a bit of a breather. Not much of a breather, though. Oh, a little bit of lag there from Mitch by the looks of it. Interestingly, Dave the Harp sitting in 4th place at the moment. I don't think he's quite got the pace to keep up with these guys, but if these guys make a mess of things, I think Dave can be right in there, as Mitch has opened up a gap again on... I can't believe what that sign says there. But yeah, Mitch has opened up the gap again on Steve. I think Dave the Harp will be very happy sitting in that 4th place all on his own at the moment.
Yeah, we've got SRI here catching up back at Twilight. Conrad's managed to make a bit of a break away from them. But I think Conrad's just missed an apex there a little bit. They might be slow on the exit. But yeah, SRI catching up Twilight as we head up towards that Devil's Elbow. Jason trying to put the pressure on as well. It's a bit of a bugger of a corner because you catch that curb and you'll soon be off over the edge of the track.
Definitely.
Sideways into a wall.
It's one of those where you can straddle it, as Jason losing the position to Gary by the looks of it, because he was a little bit slow going up the hill. Gary taking the chance there as SRI gets a little bit twitchy at the exit of the corkscrew. Jason having a look up the inside. Sorry, I'll keep coughing. Oh,
Corona.
It better not be. No, I've just got a bit of a sore throat. I think I've probably been inhaling toxins over this week. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, Jason was having a look at the inside. What I am finding interesting at the moment is we've got Twilight, who for some reason seems to be dropping down the order, and Conrad is flying up the order. Tyler's managed to go Jason and Gary. Oh, and SRI 3 wide. Can Jason get that slowed down? He might be able to, but Gary's just put SRI into a bit of a spin there. I don't know if that was SRI trying to turn in or what. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was more SRI and Gary battling and didn't see Jason coming, and it was 3 into 1 there for a moment. But a bit of a racing incident, to be fair. SGP back on camera, other cars in shot.
Yeah, so actually SGP is already ahead of Rich Blues. I think Rich Blues is struggling a little bit around this track. Fluffy Planet making the move on Jimmy, but not too far behind them is where SGP is. So it's taken SGP 15 minutes to get onto the back of the pack. He's now got 25 minutes to see how far up the order he can get, although it doesn't matter. I will mention as well, though, as we're now 10 laps into this race, that someone's just ran wide. SRI's just dipped a wheel wide. That's going to give Jason the opportunity, and potentially Gary the opportunity, as they go side by side. This is such a dip. Oh, Gary's lost it under braking. Pumped at Jason.
Jason's gone for a picnic.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I think Gary's going to wait for him. And SGP says thanks very much for the easy overtakes.
Yeah, definitely.
That's made it a bit easier for him.
Maybe one of SGP's sponsors in later championships will be Gary Airways, because he seems to have sent Jason on holiday there, that's for sure.
Dust. What's the dust?
Oh,
a bit of Jimmy then.
Hello, Jimmy. Bye, Jimmy.
Where's he gone?
He's gone. I think Jimmy. I think this is a track though where, for people that may not have driven around this track a lot, it is an evil circuit. But it isn't really that hard once you get to know it. You just have to realise, do not dip a wheel off the track. That's the key. It doesn't matter how slow you go, do not dip a wheel off the track. If you're 10 seconds slower than the leader, then that's your pace. The time will come down as the more experience you gain. It's just one of those things. It's like the corkscrew. There's no, SRI chucking it up the inside of Twilight. Like a die. Oh, Twilight's losing it on the exit. He's completely lost it on the exit, and even SRI was having a wobble there as Fluffy is facing the wrong direction.
And another 2 cars move out of the way for SGP. Looks like everyone's making it easy for him. I'm pretty sure they would have decided to try and make it more difficult for SGP this race. Not more difficult, not more easier. I mean, yeah. Well, put it this way, SRI, he's not going to be one to move out of the way easily. I'm pretty sure of that.
Oh, definitely not. Just so he didn't move out of the way for Twilight, did he? But to be fair, I mean, it's one of those things as well. I mean, nobody should be moving out of the way for SGP, that's for certain, and I don't think anybody is. It's just SGP's been very lucky so far that most of the cars he's caught up have decided to have a panic attack.
Look at his lap times on the screen though, absolutely relentless.
Yeah, he has got boost though.
No, but I mean, even still, it's just consistent, isn't it? Bang,
Well,
bang, bang,
yeah.
bang, bang, lap after lap after lap, and that's why he's caught up so quick. But now he's caught up, he's going to have lost that boost, and he's going to have to put the pressure on manually, as we should say, onto SRI.
SRI going defensive as well, so yeah, definitely going to have to do it manually. As we're getting close to halfway through the race, we'll quickly mention as well that this is a race that should be absolutely fine on fuel burn, because I think even if you absolutely thrash it around here, I don't think you'll use the whole 80 litres, so we shouldn't really be seeing anybody pitting for fuel. Tyres though is a different scenario. If you're kind on the tyres, yeah, they'll last the 40 minutes no problem. If you're not so kind, the last 10 minutes will be a little bit treacherous. But if you pit here, you're going to lose about 20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds at a minimum, easily. But also, I mean, you think of the time you're going to lose when you come out and you're behind other people, and you've got to try and get back past them. As Connor's making a nice move on Tyler there.
Yeah, lovely bit of dancing from the pair of them there. I mean, Connor was taking a risk, but to be fair, Tyler saw him. And I mean, that's one of those situations where Connor has been slowly catching up. And it's one of those things, perhaps Tyler just wants to look after his tyres a little bit, or like I said, is doing whatever it takes to not put a wheel off the tarmac.
Yeah, and maybe Tyler knows what it's going to be like a bit more towards the end of the race in the last 10 minutes, when it's going to be important to look after your tyres.
Quite possibly. So Demon R being hunted by Mitch, as Demon R got a little bit sideways on the way into the first part of turn 1, and then tried to cover or park it on the apex a bit in 2, which meant that Mitch drove into the back of him. Steve F1 has dropped off from those two a little bit, but it could just be looking after his tyres as SRI once again goes defensive. Is SGP going to try and switch back on him? It's not really on, but Jason trying it on Jimmy.
Yeah, and you can see that obviously SRI is holding SGP up here with the others catching back up.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Jimmy, where you going? Come back.
Yeah, I was just about to start saying, Jimmy, Mac, when are you coming back? He's all over the place this week because he had too many points or something.
He might have done. I think it's just maybe this track doesn't necessarily suit Jimmy. I mean, it can be that way sometimes with people. I'm just looking at the track map. Steve F1 trying to close in again on the leaders as SGP still hasn't got past SRI. So yeah, SRI definitely not making it easy for SGP. Jason taking a very different approach to the corkscrew as SGP. Oh, I thought Jason was going to nail them both then. This is getting very close. Oh, SGP big sideways.
Is this SGP taking it easier, or is this SRI just being very defensive?
I think it could be a mixture of the two, really. SRI is not going to get out of the way. He's going to make it as hard as he can. It's one of those, I think, with SRI, he's a bit Alonso-ish, really. It's like, I'm not going to let you through, but probably once you... Oh, Demon R's made an error there in the first corner. Got very deep on the brakes there. But yeah, I think with SRI, it's like, yeah, I'm going to defend as hard as I can. Once you're in the position to overtake me, fair enough, I might not attack you too hard. But yeah, so like here, he's going to go defensive. He's not going to make it easy. If you want to go past, you're going to have to go the long way round.
Looks like SGP's going to say, okay, if that's what you want me to do, I'll do that.
Yeah, he's got the run out of the corner now, got up the inside into turn 2, side by side they go, and SGP gets through, and SRI's ran wide. That's unfortunate for SRI. Jason will say thank you, so will Fluffy, and SRI will say something I probably can't repeat.
Yeah, SGP.
It's just Scottish, you can't do what he said.
No, but SGP must be convinced that was a clean overtake, otherwise he would have been waiting surely for that.
You'd think so.
It looked clean enough from the camera angle we could see it from, that's for sure.
Oh, I don't know, put a report in, Ray, put a report in. Mitch closing in once again on Demon R. And I mentioned about the tyres as we're just over halfway through the race. I am concerned a little bit that Mitch may have been pushing his tyres a little bit too hard. I mean, it would appear that Steve F1 is playing a little bit more of a cautious game here. He's looking after his tyres. He's not putting any pressure through them whatsoever. Mitch and Demon R, though, they've been battling it out a little bit. The last couple of laps, Demon R's been all out of shape deep into turn 1. That's going to hurt the tyres. It hurts the tyres for the remainder of the lap. And if Mitch is coming in there hard on the brakes as well, then he's going to be burning up his tyres. David Hart still comfortably sitting in 4th place, but he's going to have to be careful because Conrad is now closing in on him and he's bringing Tyler along with him as SGP is now up to 7th. He's got the pack behind him.
Yeah, he's got the pack right behind him, and he probably doesn't even need to look at his mirrors. He'll just be able to hear them, like I don't know. I was going to say a pack of bees, but you don't get packs of bees.
No.
But you know what I mean.
You don't even get a herd of bees, no.
No.
You get a swarm.
Well, you do hear them.
Yeah, you do. You get a swarm of them as fluffy. It's all out of shape. That's gone on from turn 1, carried on into turn 2, as Mitch almost runs a little bit wide. So does Demon R. Looks like Mitch may have a run on Demon R here, but you really want to attack. Well, attacking might not be too bad into the corkscrew. You just have to get the braking right.
Yeah, this is where I think you'll find two different styles of driving. I think you'll see that if Mitch does pass Demon R is likely just to sit behind him and wait for the right time, whereas Mitch is like, I want to get past. Every corner, Mitch is like, can I get past you? Whereas Demon R is more like, I'll just sit behind you until you make a mistake, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And and that's probably why it affects Mitch's tyres more than it does for someone like Demon R, because Mitch is always later on his brakes, earlier on his accelerator, always looking for that overtake. But it's not now when you need to be in the lead, Mitch. It's at the last lap.
Yeah, he looks like he's going for it hard on the brakes around the outside, sliding into turn 1, and that's what we're on about. That could have hurt his tyres a bit. Demon R holding the inside line. Mitch is going to get this move done, but at what cost? As he's now got the tighter line into turn 3. Let's hope that Mitch can keep it on the road. He can, just as Demon R dips a wheel, just about, so as they make their way into turn 3. But look at what that's done. Mitch is running wide. So yeah, that's cooked the tyres a little bit, and it's allowed Steve F1 to literally close the gap because he's there. It looks further on. Mitch still struggling for the grip because Demon R is having a look up the inside, not really going for it, just sort of putting Mitch off the racing line.
Yeah, it's not just now that it's affected Mitch's tyres, it's that last 10 minutes of the race is going to be more percentage wear off those tyres that's going to give him a bit of a disadvantage. It just means that it's just a bit more of a knock-on effect lap by lap.
Yeah, definitely. So as they make their way down through the corkscrew, a set of some of the most famous corners on a racetrack in the world, as Steve F1 has closed in on the back of Demon R now, and this is an interesting situation, I think, because it's like you said, if Mitch gets the move done, what's Demon R going to do? What's Steve F1 going to do? I don't think Demon R and Steve F1 are in that sort of attack frame of mind. I think they're in that let's just keep it on the road frame of mind.
Yeah, and the way Mitch drives, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him behind with the two at some point. Dave the Harp into the pits. It can't be for fuel because he's got more than 40 litres and we're way past halfway.
Yeah, it's definitely not for fuel. That must be for tyres. I can kind of understand that with Dave. As Mitch has gone a little bit deep into turn 1 again, and he's ran wide. Oh no, it's costly. So yeah, Demon R's not even gone for the attack, but he's been gifted the position, and now Mitch is running wide into 2 as well, and that's allowed Steve F1 through. You know what? I think that all comes from the previous lap and making the overtake into turn 1.
Yeah, exactly that. And the only way Mitch is going to be able to win this race is he can make one of those moves stick and then gradually pull a lead out. But the others are just sitting there waiting for him to make the mistake, to be honest.
Yeah, that is true. Tyler has managed to close in again on Conrad. So Dave Harp has pitted, and Dave Harp, I think, has come out in the pack, or at least behind the pack.
You say you can understand why he's pitted, but is that because cars were catching him up, or would he feel like he could not pull away any further on the tyres he'd currently got under him?
Was this catch-22? If you're not comfortable with the tyres that you've got on the car, you feel you're going to crash. He's taken the pain of the length of time of a pit stop and the potential of coming out in the pack and having a crash for the confidence of the better tyres. Oh, Rich Blues going a lap down, managed to stay out of the way quite nicely there. So good to see that he spotted that the leaders were closing in on him. Rich Blues definitely struggling a little bit around at this particular track, but interestingly, as we've seen from a previous race, Rich is now going to have phenomenal boost, and I don't think he's been in this position before.
No, but I mean, there's got to be a reason why he's in that position though, and obviously on all of his previous laps he's not been quick enough, so he may be better off, just sitting behind the 3 rather than thinking, I've got the boost, let me get past, I'm going to pull away from you, because he obviously hasn't been fast enough on the previous laps. He might be
Connor's gone. He's binned it. Oh, he's going to take a while to save that one. If he can still face, got a little bit lucky there. If he'd have spun there, that'd have killed his tyres. That's hurt his tyres, don't get me wrong, but he can survive that. But that will allow SGP to close in a little bit on Conrad, as Steve and Mitch are side by side, heading up into the left-hander we were talking about earlier on. Mitch backing out of it, but gets himself a little bit out of shape. And interestingly, Rich is sitting behind these guys at the moment. I mean, this is the right thing to do for Rich, just sit behind them. Now, if he gets to the main straight, and with the amount of boost that he'll have, he can drive past, then yeah, go for it, fine, no problem. I don't think anybody here would begrudge him now. But what he would need to do is make sure that whatever it happens, he makes zero contact with the cars ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Steve F1's going to be thinking, come on, Rich, hit Mitch.
or give me a boost, as Mitch trying to go around the outside of Steve in the final corner, can't quite get it done. And here we go, so Rich has got much better straight line speed. He's staying well out of the battle. Mitch actually trying to get into Rich's slipstream there, but it's not quite worked. So Rich has managed to get past them, and so they're still side by side. So that's been actually quite nice from Rich there. It's allowed Mitch and Steve to continue their battle. But now Rich is in a bit of a tricky situation. He's closing in on Demon R, and there isn't really many straights, although I do believe I have just heard through my assistant that Demon R has said, Rich, go past on the next straight, so after this corner. I mean, it's a fair way to do it, I suppose, really, isn't it?
It is. All Rich needs to do now is get his head down, not try and focus too much on what's in his mirrors, and just drive the track, and the car will be quick enough. Now the leaders have let you through, then just drive the track, and you will pull away.
Yeah, you don't have to push, you don't have to thrash it. I think he's made a mistake though. He may have caught the curb. Now he's in danger zone. Now he's heading into the corkscrew. He's running a little bit slower because of making a bit of an error there. He's going to have to be so careful not to tag the back of Demon R, but also to not get in the way of Mitch or Steve F1. And it looks like he's pulling out of the way, is he? Or did he just have another twitch? I think he's pulling out of the way.
Yeah, I think he had a bit of code brown for a moment there, to be honest.
Yeah, that he did. David Harp, having pitted, has come out right next to SRI. Well, he's now next to SRI, but his fresher tyres again, an absolute pasting, and so is the AstroTurf there.
Yeah, and I don't think SRI would have appreciated David Harp's line across the corner there, because we know he's a bit of a stickler for cutting corners, is SRI.
Yeah,
Conrad pits.
That's not for fuel. That is interesting. That is not for fuel at all. That is for tyres. So I did mention he'll have hurt his tyres, and I think Connor may have had enough room to get that pit stop done and come out before the pack. We'll have to wait and see. I think Rich Blues, I think he has stopped. I think he's stopped. And
down to 13, aren't we?
Yeah, I think he's retired as well. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Rich has thought, you know what? I'm in a situation I do not want to be in here. Now, he had a couple of options really. One would have been just to back off and stay behind these guys and leave them to it. It'd have been okay doing that, but perhaps he'd just rather not be in that danger zone. Oh, Dave run a little bit wide. SRI's got to run on him. Going to make the move up to the outside as Fluffy gives him a little bit of a nudge.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Dave the Hart pit, and we're saying, was it the right choice? Well, if he can pull away from this pack, then he's made the right choice, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, he was in 4th place before he pitted. So the aim, and this is one of the things I suppose, the aim would be, Jimmy, where you going? Get back on the track. Don't hit anyone. Good luck. Fluffy sliding through the left-hander there. If you can get back into 4th position, then it's absolutely worth taking the pit stop. If it's 5th, okay, probably still worth it because of the tyres. But obviously he's in a situation now. Oh, Jimmy! Holy cow! I think it's fair to say Jimmy's brakes just failed.
Yeah, it wasn't brakes, it was brain. But the car didn't stop into that corner. Well, it did after it. Fluffy.
That's the fastest Fluffy's ever been through that corner. It just wasn't legal. Interestingly, Mitch has closed in again on Demon R. This is the thing we were saying about with Mitch, that he's definitely got the pace because he's been able to catch up. I think this is where, I don't know, I look at this and go, okay, this is great stuff. Mitch has got great pace, but I do wonder if Mitch as a driver, so like in these situations, goes, look, I'm so much faster because I can catch up so often, but missing the point.
A bit of an early kind of Max Verstappen kind of, I'm catching you up and I'm coming past you now kind of thing. Whereas he just needs to have a bit of a wiser head sometimes.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, a little calmer, a little look after his tyres a little bit better, so they'll last a little bit longer. Things like that, or perhaps not taking risks. I mean, I know in the DGTC side, Mitch took risks and it didn't work for him on one occasion, but over the course of the race, it did work out for him. He won the race, and well done to him for it. But sometimes you'll take those risks and it'll backfire big time. So it's one of the, it's kind of like that catch-22. So I mean, he might see that Demon R and Steve F1 don't seem to be that fast at the moment. Or is Connor taking a bit of a bumpy trip through the corkscrew? Yeah, Mitch might feel that he's faster than Demon R and Steve F1 at the moment, but perhaps not taking into account that both of those guys are driving to try and keep the tyres there for this last 10 minutes.
Bloody hell, we are into the last 10 minutes, aren't we?
Yeah.
In fact, actually, looks like there's less than 8 minutes to go. Wow, this race has flown by. Lights are definitely on, the sun's going down, and yeah, we're definitely into the later stages of this race.
That we are. So yeah, I mean, Steve F1, as I mentioned, I mean, he's literally just sitting there looking after his tyres, not letting these guys get away, whereas it looks like Mitch is on the attack. And okay, maybe he's just trying to get Demon R off the racing line, as we see Demon R do on occasion to others, but yeah, I don't know. It's great to see, but at the same time, I just fear, is it to a detrimental result in the end? We'll have to wait and see. As Conrad has managed to get past SRI, Dave the Harper's managed to open up a little bit of a gap on the pack.
Yeah, just looking at SRI's car there, I'm trying to figure out whether that's rust or blood, or is it just bloody rusty?
Yeah, both, I think. Okay, Connor looks like he's got a bit of a run on that's blood. Seeing as it's sponsored by the blood bank. Yeah, Connor got a bit of a run on Jason heading up to the corkscrew. Looks like they may be side by side. Where's Jason gone? Oh, he's there. He is still there. Oh!
I was saying SRI is a bit of a stickler for people corners, and what does he go and do?
Yeah, what is Connor doing out wide there?
Yeah, I didn't quite see what happened there. Maybe we didn't get the full picture, but Connor unfortunately was off the track, and he's not going to be happy whether he put himself there or whether somebody else put him there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a corner where you normally really run wide. It's quite an easy approach, but having said that, if you do get wide on entry, it is so dirty. So once again, Mitch looking to attack on Demon R, wasn't able to do it down into the first corner, otherwise would have had a look at it, but he's definitely on the hunt. As Gary tagging the side of Jason, and maybe Gary's just trying to rearrange the fender that he damaged on Jason's car earlier.
Yeah, it's kind of just letting Jason know, I'm still here. Oh, don't go past him now though, Gary. I think that might have been a bit unfair, to be honest.
It could well have been.
It seemed harsh.
Dave the Art was off as well, but I think Dave the Art went off on his own accord. I think Gary may have just tagged Jason, and made the move there. As Connor still trying to, I think Connor might be driving a little bit angry at the moment. I don't know whether he was nudged off or not, but he's now back in the pack, looking at SRI once again as we head into the tricky left-hander 2x2. Dave the Art backs out of it, going for the better run up the hill, and I think it may have worked. It has, but he's got Gary to contend with.
Yeah, you're better off being in the front, at the back, or in the middle of this pack at this point. I'm probably not in it at all, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, Dave did well though, or Jason. He's taking that tighter line into this corner. It's a tricky line because you tend to run out wide on the exit of the corner. It's definitely a wide entry corner. You have to be so careful going up the inside there.
Yeah, and the only person who know that likes to be inside there is SRI.
Oh, Connor's in the gravel again. I don't know if he was hit there.
There was definitely a car alongside him. Didn't quite see who it was, but there's a lot of contact in the middle of that pack today. I'm just wondering whether this is coming down to last few minutes of the last race of the season and people are just getting their elbows out a bit more than normal. But we've got Mitch on Demon R here for the lead.
Yeah, trying to go all the way around the outside, but Demon R having absolutely none of it. I'm wondering, whether Jason may have been put a little bit sideways heading into that corner, and that's what's just sort of put Connor into the gravel. I did see that Jason was ending up sideways a little bit, and it didn't look like it was him how hard or heavy on the brakes doing that. I've got to say though, what a fantastic battle we have been having for the lead of the race. I mean, okay, I've had my comments about the way Mitch is racing, but it is giving us an exciting sort of, well, basically it's been a battle for the whole of the race for the lead. Demon R's going to have to go defensive here. Mitch may be able to try it all the way around the outside. Now, is Demon R going to park it on the apex, or is he going to park it on the exit? Bit of both.
Yeah, and for these guys, what is it, 2 more laps to go. So Mitch, does he need to make the move now? I suppose if he does, he can pull away a little bit. Can he get ahead of Demon R into the braking zone? It's been one of his favourite places, but Demon R's got it covered. He's on the apex.
Trying to go for the switchback. Oh, Demon R's left the door open a tiny little bit. I don't know if there was any contact there. I mean, on this occasion, Mitch was more than close enough into turn 1 to apply the pressure. He's just tagged the sausage curb though, and Demon R and Mitch, a little bit of contact between the two of them. Couldn't really see exactly what happened there, but that's allowed Steve F1 to close in as Demon R takes too much sausage on this occasion. He's going to cover the inside of the loop with his left-hander that makes the start up the run up the hill. Yeah, fantastic battle though for the leaders race. I mean, it's an interesting situation. Demon R has not won a race in this championship, and this could be his last chance, isn't it?
It is for this championship.
Mitch. Whoa! That's going to give a position to Steve, I think. I think Steve may have him there, although SGP on the back of Tyler, so SGP is taking him a while, but he has finally closed in on Tyler and putting the pressure on. I don't think Steve F1 has made the move on Mitch there through the corkscrew. No, he hasn't. That's why we've not gone and had a look at it, but it has put Mitch in a difficult situation now.
Yeah, and
he's going in there too quick.
Wow!
Oh, Dave the Art side.
Dave the Art did.
Yeah. Twilight and Gary side by side there as well. Connor, Dave the Arch just tagged Jason, and Jason has taken Connor into the gravel. Dave into the gravel as well. Oh, that's disastrous for Dave, Connor and Jason. I can imagine as well that from Connor's perspective, it may have looked like Jason has just absolutely smashed him in the corkscrew. It's not quite what's happened there.
It was assisted.
Yeah, it was an assisted smashing of his back doors. SGP putting the pressure on Tyler. I like this. Tyler going defensive. He's basically saying, look, you're not having it. You can work for it, and if you can take it, fair enough. I'm not going to give it you.
Does SGP need to go for it though? I suppose it's in his nature, isn't it?
I suppose it is now, yeah. I mean, he's looking at if he can get past Tyler, can he catch the leaders? No, he's too far back. But
if they have a crash, you never know.
True. But he's got the opportunity of finishing either 5th or 4th, and I think anybody would take the 4th over the 5th. Is he going to go around the outside of Tyler? No. Tyler's been a little bit late on the brakes, may run a little bit wide. I think SGP will have the run over the hill. Tyler's covering it off, though he's having absolutely none of it, but I think SGP has stuck it up the inside. It's a lovely bit of driving from the pair of them, not the best of places to overtake. As Tyler has ended up off that track. So disgusting, SGP.
No, I'm pretty sure there was no contact there, otherwise SGP would have been waiting once again. He must be confident with that.
I'm cutting you off because there's only 30 seconds left of this race, which means 1st, 2nd and 3rd here are going to get another lap. As Demon R's ran a little bit wide on the exit, Mitch has tagged the back of him. That's going to give Steve F1 the opportunity. So yeah, these guys are definitely going to get one more lap. So Steve F1, he's now decided perhaps this is the time to pounce. But what we will have is, I don't know if SGP is going to get another lap in or not. Mitch going late on the brakes into turn 1. He's taking the wide line. He's going to be dirty out there. He's going to have to be careful. Steve F1 really trying to put the pressure on Demon R into turn 2 as Tyler. He's going to cross the line. Yeah, he's not going to make it. So Tyler and beyond, it's all for the last time in this championship for them, as Jason looks like he's going to be the one heading the pack of Fluffy, SRI, Gary, Dave the Harp and Twilight. But yeah, okay, back to the leaders as they head into the loopy. Left-hander, Demon R leading the way still. Steve F1 in 2nd place, Mitch in 3rd.
Yeah, so far this race we've not really seen anything from Steve F1. He's just been there biding his time, looking after his tyres. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the best shape going into this last half a lap.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we mentioned it all along that Steve F1 would look like he was just sitting there looking after his tyres, and this was why, to make a move now, as he's really putting the pressure on the back of Demon R, who got a little bit twitchy as they make their way down the hill into the left hand. You can see that Steve F1 has got slightly better grip. Demon R, is he going to go defensive? No, he's not. But he's a little bit wiggly on the way into the penultimate corner. He's ran wide. Is he going to spin it? No, he's not. Steve F1 goes around the outside into the final corner, but Demon R's coming back at him. He's tagged him. That's put Steve into the gravel.
Demon R was doing so well, and then he went off. But he's taken the victory, and I've got a feeling, the stewards might have to have a look at that. But we'll see. SGP though, sideways out the last corner, and not a bad way to finish this season, coming in 4th place after doing the Champions Challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what a race! What a race! I may have to have a look at a few different camera angles as to what happened at the end there. What I will say is, Demon R definitely did.
Is your contacts not getting back in touch with you as soon as you want them to?
No,
not on this occasion.
No.
Kept his helmet on.
They've gone home early already. What I will say though is, normally I would say congratulations to the race winner, but I don't think I can do that on this occasion, because it does look like Demon R has made a bit of an error there. I don't think he's necessarily sort of gone for re-attacking into the final corner. I don't know, I could be wrong. He's either dive bombed him or he's locked it up under braking while trying not to hit him. Either way, there was a bit of contact between himself and Steve F1, which put Steve F1 a little bit wide, and then as Steve F1 is making his way back onto the track, it looks like Mick just stuck an elbow in him as well. But we'll have to wait and see as to whether Steve F1 puts a report in on Demon R on that one, or whether Demon R does anything about it himself. It's one of those. I
think if I was Mitch, I'd be putting a report in on Demon R.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, depending on what that's done to the points, that could have made things rather interesting for that fight for 2nd place. But we'll get on to that in a few moments' time, because there's a couple of things to. We might as well mention there. Demon R, he's taken the victory. Can't really take that away from him. We'll see if there's going to be any further action on that. Mitch got lucky in the end, I think, getting the 2nd place there. He must have been loving watching those two have a bit of a coming together in those final couple of corners. Possibly could have got the win, but 2nd place, I think he'll be very happy with that.
Yeah, Mitch having 2nd place, like I say, he'd be probably happy. Steve, though, out of the top 3, he'll probably be the one that'd be most disappointed going into that final corner in 1st place, coming out in 3rd, not where you want to be. And he probably knows that nothing was there deliberate, but unfortunately, he felt contact and was 3rd across the line.
Yeah,
that's all we can say really. As for the other cars during the race, we noticed a few absentees this week. One in particular we'd like to mention and wish our best to, and that's Hay. Would you like to explain a bit more why?
Because it's weird.
Yeah. He's had a bit of a dicky. He's got a bit of a dicky art, hasn't he? Not as bad as Ray's, but it's still a bit of a dicky one.
No, to be fair, we were expecting him on the grid on Thursday, and then about 10-15 minutes before 8 o'clock, did get a message through from his son-in-law, just saying he's not going to be able to make it, and it turns out that, unfortunately, Hay would appear to have suffered a little bit of a stroke, and not of the pleasant type, so a bit of a problem with his heart.
Was it a stroke or was it a heart attack?
I think
it was two different things.
I think it was a heart attack, from what I can gather. So he spent a bit of time in the hospital. He says he's okay. His family's making a fuss of him, which, knowing what Hayes like, it'll do his head in. But the family should make a fuss of him, and he has been told to take it easy. But to be fair, he's been eager to practice for the next race. I just haven't had the heart to tell him that was the last one. We've got a break now. So I've not had this bad use of words. I know I've not had the heart to tell him there isn't a race for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah, I'm sure it might be funny side of it, but no, genuinely, I do hope that he is okay. And obviously, there are people within the league that have suffered similar things. Even Dave the Arp ended up in hospital a couple of nights ago with a racing heart.
Just shame his car's not as fast.
Well, his car's fast, and so are his tyres.
Going off.
Yeah, but no, hopefully that everybody is okay. We're in a weird time, and people are going to get ill, and things are going to happen. And even when people don't necessarily feel stressed or anxious, and stress and anxiety can really kick in. And even things as serious as heart attacks. People, I could imagine Hay being the type of person that goes, look, there's nothing wrong with me, all right. But in actual fact, there is. Like a lot of us men, we're too fucking stubborn to go, you know what? I think I've got a problem. Normally it's of the genital regions, but
I don't know anyone in this league that's not got a problem, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, I mean that is true. Pretty much every single person within this league has issues in one way or another, and it's one of those things that I think on many occasions people don't necessarily realise that that's the kind of group they're in. But yeah, either way, good luck to Hay and on his recovery, and let's hope that Dave's heart also holds out.
Just to mention as well with Hay, if you was wanting to know when the next race is, it's the 30th of July is round 1 of the Special 4 Cup.
Okay, good stuff. What do you make of what Rich did in that race today?
Not bad. No, I'm joking. To be fair, I can understand it, because he would have been not wanting to get involved, and then he was allowed to go past the leader and given the opportunity to break away. But obviously there's a reason why the leaders were catching him up. They obviously lost pace all the way up to that point during the race.
Yeah.
So once he'd made that mistake, he had two choices: sit behind and follow, in his own mind obviously, sit behind and follow and bag a couple of points for last place, or retire and spectate and enjoy the spectacle. And it looks like that's what he decided to do. Not a rage quit, as most would call it. I would, but not what most people would call it. But yeah, it's unfortunate. We did notice though as well, there was another driver that didn't finish that race that started.
Jimmy. I mean, we mentioned throughout the race that he looked like he was struggling a little bit, and
that was just a straightforward rage quit from Jimmy though.
I think it was. Yeah. I mean, for what Rich did, I would always prefer to see people keep going, always would. But I also believe that if a driver themselves thinks I should stop, then that's what they should do.
Yes.
Because, I mean, in that situation, the last thing Rich would have wanted to do would to have had Steve F1 shouting at him. Maybe that's why Hayes had a bad heart, because of what he did to Steve F1 in Tokyo, when Steve F1 shouted at him.
Yeah. Possibly. Let's blame Steve.
Yeah, let's blame Steve. Hashtag blame Steve. Actually, I better not do that. I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, I can fully understand what Rich has done there. He's had the opportunity and he's given it a go to get past. He's done everything right in that respect. But yeah, like I say, once he made the mistake again and it was on the heading onto the straight, yeah, I think at that point he just simply did not want to get involved in something that had nothing to do with him. So yeah, I mean, I tell you, there's a few drivers that look like they had a few adventures out there today. That's for certain. Conrad testing out the depth of the gravel in a few places. Jason making a few trips into the gravel as well, sometimes of his own accord, sometimes assisted. Fluffy probably had the biggest hit of anybody throughout the whole of the race. If you don't know Fluffy, it was Jimmy that hit you, and Jimmy, if you don't know, it was Fluffy you absolutely annihilated. But it's one of those things where I don't necessarily want to say it can happen, but that corner is one of those where if you brake half a metre too late and then you realise, holy cow, I could wipe out 5-6 cars here, anything you then do to try and avoid that could result in anything happening. And it's that braking half a metre too late that I would say that can happen. Anybody can do that, or braking when you've got a wheel on the curb, that can happen and put somebody in a situation where they're now in loads of trouble. So I'm not saying that it's good that Jimmy wiped out Fluffy, you know what to say there, guys. But yeah, it's not good that Jimmy wiped out Fluffy. However, if Jimmy wiped out Fluffy, avoiding wiping out 5 cars, I wouldn't be too smashy on his head on that one, if that makes any sense. Yeah. It's like either way is a bad scenario, but there's bad scenarios and then there's worse scenarios. So yeah, I think Jimmy will be pleased to get this championship over and done with. But yeah. What I will say though is, SGP over the course of this championship, did the Champions Challenge. To be honest, I do know that Demon Art, Steve F1, were both of the mindset that SGP could still have won this race, even starting from the lap down, just given the pace that he's had over the course of the whole of this championship. And at the end of the day, SGP has fully deserved the crown of champion, and the star that goes with it.
Quick question on the star that goes with it.
Yeah.
Is there a DGT generated decal star on Gran Turismo, or is it just one that people have been using on there?
It's not one that is DGT generated. However, I have been considering doing stars because there are not many gold stars on the game.
No, some of them are pretty naff, aren't they?
Yes, they are. But I think one of the reasons is it's a little bit like the colour green is very hard to transfer onto the game because it takes up a lot of file size, and it's the same with gold. I may have a look at doing something with that at some point. But what I will say is, from one brother to another, congratulations on taking your first championship in DGT League.
Thank you.
And just as an interesting side fact, I found out that Bruce Lee's got a vegan brother.
Oh, go on, what's his name?
Brocco.
Yeah, Brocco Lee. Yeah. Do you know what, though, right? I'm not going to pull another joke on you. I'm not going to do that. But whenever I listen to commentary, I can tell straight away when you're going to do a joke. Because you go, right, do you know? Because it's just, right, do you know? And straight away I can tell. You catch the drivers out right, every time. I just see it coming from a mile away. But anyway, it has been a good season though, not just for SGP. I think it's been a good season for the league. A few things a bit different this season that we may revisit in future seasons, such as no qualifying.
Yeah.
It's been interesting racing at circuits with walls, like Tokyo. It's been interesting racing at circuits in the desert, and it was also very interesting when some of the drivers were asked, walls or desert, and they preferred the walls, even though after the race with the walls they all didn't like it.
Yeah.
So
it's very. It's been an interesting. It's definitely been an interesting championship. It's had been interesting using very different circuits to what it's been used to. I do think though, even though this Supra has ended up being quite a weird car in the end, because of the way to drive it fastest. This is the thing, the way to drive it fastest isn't the fastest way to drive it.
No, but it has been Supra.
Yeah, that is true. Boom, boom. But yeah, I think it was the right car to try at the likes of the Tokyo circuits and Willow Springs, because it wasn't too fast. It didn't have ridiculous amounts of grip. I think if we'd have taken the Zanassins to Willow Springs, I don't think that would have been better, because that car was so reliant on its downforce and its tyre temperatures that you go marginally off the racing line or brake marginally late, it's game over. Whereas the Supra could take a little bit more punishment, because you had to brake so much sooner. It gave you that margin to make sure you had more chance to get things right, or more chance to not get things wrong. But yeah,
going into next season, then, what do you think we can expect to see from next season's challenge?
Well, I don't think anybody can actually say. There's 4 different cars where they all have their own strengths. The Subaru is such the better car. However, it's a car that if you drive it and just think, well, this car's better, I'm going to win, you're not going to go very fast. It's a car that you have to push. So like with this Supra, where the harder you push it, the slower you go. With the Subaru, the harder you push it, the more it says, give me more. It's like a hobnob when you're dunking it into coffee. Like it just wants more all the time. And that's the thing, that you can brake hard, you can brake a bit late, you can really throw it into corners, you can get on the power really early. and that's where all of its speed comes from, the fact that you can do those things. But if you go too cautious with it, all of a sudden you'll find that actually you're not going very fast. So it's got its strengths, but you've got to use them. And for the other cars, the Alfa Romeo is a fantastic car, struggles with straight line speed, but it handles beautifully. The VW Scirocco, it's a weird front wheel drive car, but it's got great speed and it's slow in the corners, but yeah, it's very different to
very
the Subaru,
stable.
very stable. I mean, the chances of that car spinning out is highly unlikely unless it gets nailed. And then there's the Toyota, which I think it's going to take a while for people to get on top of, because it's quite a tail happy car that is a little bit fragile, hasn't got the greatest top speed, isn't the best in the corners, but it's better than the VW, but it is good on the brakes and it is good on fuel. So I don't think anybody can sit there at the start of the championship and go, he's got a chance of winning.
Yeah.
Because we just simply do not know. I mean, we haven't had it yet where we've had every driver in their car on the track, and to be honest, I mean, it would be fascinating in this off season if on the Thursdays we could get a couple of races done, just like sort of test races, so to speak, with all of the drivers in their correct cars, so that we can get perhaps a bit of an idea of what the lay of the land might be like, because some people might not realise that a Subaru could qualify 10th but still be fighting for the lead into the first corner, because of how good that car is off the line.
Or something like the Scirocco might qualify on the first or second row, be at the back by turn one, dependent on the circuit, depending on how long the straight is. But
because of how bad that car is off the line, and that's the thing. There's so many variables. I think probably the biggest benefit is the fact that all of the racetracks are tracks that everyone knows. They're all proper racetracks. I know that they've already been announced, but you know, I might. I was just wondering whether I show a picture. No, I won't show a picture on the video. They have already been announced, and they will be shown again soon. So yeah, I think it could be a very exciting season. But I do think at the same time, though, I think there's a few people that could find themselves having tough races in that championship, whether it be because they feel they haven't got the top speed, or they haven't got the grip in the corners, or the tyres are sliding to, whatever it may be. I think everyone at some point is going to be having a difficult race,
because certain cars are going to prefer certain tracks. It's not like this is going to be the best car across all the tracks. Maybe the Subaru might be, but it's like the Alfa will favour certain tracks, and then there's like the rear-wheel drive car, I should say, the Toyota, that might not be very good, say, around somewhere like Brands Hatch, but it might be very good around one of the other circuits. Probably, are we at Laguna Seca? I can't remember.
Yes,
I think it might be good around that one, because it's not a high powerful.
Yeah, or the VW won't be Toyota won't be very good around Monza. Sorry, won't be very good around Suzuka, but will be better around Monza. Because of the nature of all of those corners. Anyway, right, in a moment we're going to have a look at what that race result has done to the championship standings. We'll also see if there were any reports placed and any penalties to be applied. However, before we do go and have a look at the confirmed race results, I do believe we've got a little bit of an announcement from the DGT admin, so I shall show that in just a moment. But I just want to say, Steve, aka SGP, thank you for joining me on commentary, and again, well done on the championship win.
No problem, thank you very much.
Anyway, right, let's go and have a look at the admin's announcement. Hello everybody. Okay, so there are two parts to this admin's announcement. Okay, the driver information update for the next season and future seasons. During qualifying, do not stop out on the track. You do not need to be on the track to be given your correct grid slot. You can actually be on the lobby screen, you just need to make sure that you do not press the red X. So whereas in previous championships a long time ago you would have to be beyond the end of sector 1 to keep hold of your position, with the proper qualifying sessions you do not need to be out there on the track. You can actually be in the pits or in the lobby screen, but do not press the red X. There'll also be adjustments to the procedure going from qualifying to the race starts. Anyone who does press the red X and cannot start the race will actually cause a restart. And they will be set to the back of the grid, so basically the race will be cancelled, the grid will be set by the admins, and the cause of the restart will be set to the back of the grid. Drivers that are unable to move off the grid, as we've seen a couple of times this championship, will also trigger a restart, but with no position loss, because it's not their fault. Now, at all races, any drivers that happen to get disconnected during qualifying will be allowed to race, so they can come back in, but through a restart process they will be put to the back of the grid. What I will say is that in any of these instances you will have to wait for the admins to tell you that there's going to be a restart. If you stop racing and you just jump off the track thinking it'll be a restart, if the admins haven't called for it, there isn't going to be a restart. So make sure you wait until the admins put a message up saying restart. There will also be the removal of the 35-minute double penalty rule. However, waiting for your victims in genuine accident situations would not result in a penalty being given in the last 5 minutes unless it comes under the new WTF rule. And that being said, we will be introducing the new WTF rule for situations that do not belong on the racetrack, plus allowing the stewards stroke admins to apply harsher penalties where needed, including the latter stages of a race. So although the double penalty rule is being removed, there are now going to be more options to the stewards for the application of penalties in many different situations. And now for the second part of this admin's announcement, a penalty system update. Just to let you know that waiting still applies, however the way the penalties are going to be looked at, or at least described, and the amount of penalties given is going to change. So it's now going to be broken up into 4 stages. So we've got stage 1 penalties, where the penalty amount is -2 points. This is for unfair overtakes or sheer bad luck. So minor things where somebody perhaps does deserve a penalty, however previous penalty amounts of 5 points would have been extremely harsh. So for an unfair overtake, a 2-point penalty would basically negate any advantage that person would gain. Stage 2 penalties, the penalty amount is -3 points. Now this is for things like forcing drivers off track and all incidents during the whole race, also for unsafe return to tracks. Now I will mention that an unfair overtake is different to forcing a driver off the track, and that is why those two have been separated. There will also be stage 3 penalties. This is more severe, so the penalty amount is -6 points, and this is for severe collisions or for WTF moves during any point of the race. And then we've got the stage 4 penalties. The penalty amount is a race or permanent ban, and the reason for that would be basically being a dick unintentionally or being a dick intentionally. Either way, the worst penalty you can get is to be given a race ban or a permanent ban. Regarding the WTF rule, just to let you know, it does stand for what the fuck. Quite simply, sometimes as a steward they may look at a situation and go what the fuck, because they're so surprised at what they have just seen. And sometimes incidents are so odd or unusual that they are very different to all other types of incidents. So the WTF rule basically gives the stewards the freedom of the amount of penalty they wish to apply. Stage 1, Stage 2 or Stage 3 or Stage 4. They can upgrade a Stage 1 to a Stage 2 and a Stage 2 to a Stage 3. It may sound very complex and complicated, it actually is much more simple than the current process we have at the moment. It does mean that in the latter stages of a race, for a normal, genuine accidental incident where a driver may force another driver off the track, if they wait for them, the penalty will not be applied unless it comes under the WTF ruling, where it is something that does not belong on the racetrack or is absolutely shocking. Okay, for anyone that is perhaps confused about this, feel free to ask questions. The idea is to try and simplify things when it comes to the ruling without making things too complex or complicated, but giving the opportunity to separate things like an unfair overtake, separating that from crashes and forcing drivers off the track, or sheer bad luck and things like that. Hopefully all of this has been understood, and we'll see how the penalty system works in the Special 4 Cup. Feel free to give the admins your thoughts on that, and as I said, if there's anything that you don't understand there, feel free to ask. Well, an interesting announcement there, but time now to confirm the race result and then the championship standings. So Demon R did take the victory, but he's not going to take the maximum 20 points because he has been given a minus 10-point penalty for that incident on the final corner. He did report himself to the stewards, as well as I believe Steve F1, rightly so, reporting him to the stewards as well. Mitch finished in second place. He will take 17 points, and that's 2-point gain on Steve F1, which could be critical in the standings. SGP somehow managed to finish in fourth place, showing that he has had the pace the whole season long. And Tyler, a great result for him to finish in fifth place, just ahead of Jason. Well, I say just ahead, points wise just ahead. Fluffy Planet managed to finish just ahead of SRI and Formula Gary, and then Dave the Harp. I wonder if Dave the Harp will be kicking himself as to whether he should have pitted or not. Either way, I'm sure he had an interesting race. Twilight finished in 11th place, with Conrad struggling towards the end, finished in 12th place, scoring the final points before. Jimmy unfortunately didn't make it to the end, and we've already seen and discussed about Ridge Blues, so unfortunate for those two, but at the same time I can fully understand it. What a season it has been anyway. At what cost does Demon R's victory come today? Yeah, I think he should be hanging his head in shame, as well as Steve F1 might be wanting to smack him over the head with a hammer. Okay, right, let's take a look at what that result then has done to the championship standings. We know already that SGP has the title confirmed, and he does. 164 points, a fantastic score for him. Mitch, though, manages with that 2-point gain over Steve F1 to end up on the joint points, but because Mitch has won 2 races and Steve F1 has only won 1, Mitch goes ahead, which is probably going to bug Steve F1 even more, because he could have won this race and confirm that second place all to himself. So yeah, Demon R definitely not in Steve F1's good books at the moment. Demon R finishes in 4th place, a bit of a gap to Dave the Harp in 5th place, who managed to stay ahead of Fluffy in 6th and Twilight in 7th. Tyler, though, absolutely out of nowhere with that fantastic result today, manages to jump 5-6 cars, yes, 6 cars, and sneak his way to 8th place. I'm pretty sure before this race he was 14th or 15th, so yeah, what a result for Tyler, well done. Jimmy, he may now be kicking himself for DNFing in this race. If it had picked up 2 points or more, Tyler would not have caught him and passed him. Jimmy, though, does end up tied on points with SRI for 9th place, place, and then we've got Conrad, who manages to take that 11th spot all on his own on 43 points. Jason manages to jump up a few places into 12th on 41 points, ahead of Bunsel, who unfortunately couldn't make the race today, and ahead of Rich Blues, who again, if he'd have scored a point, he would have been able to jump ahead of Bunsel. Formula Gary finishes in 15th place on 32 points, and then we've got Hay in 16th on 9 points and Groover in 17th on 5 points. And as I've already mentioned, hopefully Hay will be recovering fairly quickly, and hopefully we'll see Groover on track next season as well. But yeah, it's been a very, very interesting championship, that is for certain, in the Dynamic GT League. We're always looking at ways of mixing things up a little bit and trying different things, and this has definitely been a season for that. But if there's one thing to be said, it is don't let SGP get in a Supra, because if you let him get in a Supra, you'll never stop him. That almost sounds like a quote from a movie. Anyway, it's been a fantastic season. Thank you very much for joining us for all of the action. We'll be having a couple of weeks break now until the next championship, which will be the Special 4 Cup, and that is destined to be mayhem. So you know you're going to want to come and watch it. So we'll see you all again soon.